Dollar. Watch this space. Ditching US dollar to minimize West's economic dominance, Iran Shamkhani. Iran's top security official says the move to reduce the use of the dollar in regional and international transactions joined by several countries will minimize the West's dominance over the global economy. Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council SNSC Ali Shamkhani made the remarks in a meeting in Tehran on Sunday with Russia's State Council Secretary Igor Levitin, who's also a senior aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin. He said the initiatives finalized between Iran and Russia in the sector of financial and banking exchanges, aimed at funding joint projects, are an effective paradigm for neutralizing the West's unlawful sanctions against the two countries. The SNSC secretary hailed the promotion of bilateral trade and economic cooperation and emphasized the need to accelerate the implementation of joint economic projects. He said the completion of the North-South corridor and bolstering transit cooperation between the two countries are an important part of the joint projects. Shamkhani said the two countries' incessant efforts would remove any obstacle in the way of the speedy implementation of this strategic project, which would play a determining role in changing the geometry of the transit of commodities in the region. Once completed, the Rasht-Astara railway will reduce the time needed to transport cargo from Helsinki in Finland via Russia to Iran's southern ports on the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman by 20 days. Iran seeking Russia's financial support for the project, which is estimated to cost 800 million euros. According to the latest estimates by the Iranian government, the project could also lead to a major increase in cargo transport from Russia to the Indian Ocean. For his part, Levitin said Russia emphasizes the need to accelerate the implementation of joint projects, particularly in the transit sector, and is ready to invest in various economic sectors of Iran, including steel, oil, and petrochemical industries. In addition to the significant steps that have been taken to promote bilateral economic cooperation, the Russian official added, suitable grounds have been prepared to conclude a multilateral economic agreement and encourage other countries in the region to participate in profitable economic projects. Levitin is in Tehran on a two-day visit to discuss ways to bolster economic cooperation with high-ranking Iranian officials. During his last trip to Iran in January, Levitin visited a railway project in northern Iran amid talks between the two countries to secure the funding needed to complete the key north-south transportation link. De-dollarization accelerated in trade transactions, Shamkhani. Shamkhani and Levitin discussed bilateral ties between Iran and Russia and the issues of mutual interests. The reduced U.S. dollar influence in regional and economic transactions would decrease the Western dominance over the global economy, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council stated. During a meeting with the visiting Russian President's special aide, Igor Levitin, Ali Shamkhani made the remarks in Tehran on Sunday. He mentioned that the reducing influence of the U.S. dollar in regional and international economic transactions will disappear with the Western dominance on the world economy. The two sides discussed bilateral ties between Iran and Russia and the issues of mutual interests. They also discussed the implementation of agreements signed by the senior officials of the two countries in various economic and banking fields, especially expediting the construction operation of the North-South corridor. Shamkhani and Levitin emphasized the need for the adoption of fruitful solutions to accelerate the implementation of joint economic cooperation, while expressing satisfaction with the promotion of trade and economic cooperation between Iran and Russia. Furthermore, Iran's top security official considered completing the North-South corridor and expansion of transit cooperation between Iran and Russia as the most important part of the joint projects. He added that with the incessant and non-stop efforts of officials of the two countries Any obstacle in the way of materialization of the will of the leaders of the two countries will be removed. For his part, the Russian president's special aide submitted a comprehensive report on the latest developments related to trade and banking ties and joint economic projects. Levitin also stated that Moscow is ready to invest in various economic sectors of Iran, including steel, oil, and petrochemical industries. Iran and Russia can become the export center of some food items in the region with joint production and investment, Iran's first vice president, Mohammad Mokhbir, said during a meeting with Russian President Special Aide Igor Levitin in the Iranian capital on Saturday. During Levitin's two-day visit to Tehran, both sides reviewed the latest joint projects and cooperation between Iran and Russia in the framework of the North-South Corridor cooperation in the field of energy, transportation, and expansion of the two countries' trade relations. For his part, Levitin announced Moscow's readiness to invest in the transit sector and to accelerate the implementation of joint plans in transportation. Russia is ready to conclude bilateral and multilateral cooperation agreements with Iran to construct these projects, Levitin pointed out. And from Press TV, Iran's security chief had extensive de-dollarization talks with Putin. Iran's top security official Ali Shamkhani and Russian President Vladimir Putin had extensive talks on de-dollarization of trade between the two sanction-hit countries during Shamkhani's visit to Moscow earlier this year, according to a report by Al Arabiya Al Jadid, which is the Arabic service of the London-based website The New Arab. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency covered the report after it was released late on Wednesday and said that the hours-long, off-the-record meeting between Shamkhani and Putin early February was mostly focused on initiatives to offset the impacts of Western sanctions on Iran and Russia, including efforts to ditch the U.S. dollar from bilateral trade. It said the two had agreed that Iran and Russia could increase the share of other major currencies, including the Chinese yuan, the Emirati dirham, and the Indian rupee, in the foreign exchange reserves. The report said that the agreement was a base for Shamkhani's following consultants in China, the United Arab Emirates, and Iraq to boost Iran's access to international trade. Shamkhani had traveled to Moscow to attend a regional summit on Afghanistan. The former Navy commander, who leads Iran's Supreme National Security Council, then reached a deal in early March in Beijing with his Saudi counterpart Musa'ad bin Mohammed al-Aibin to revive diplomatic ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Shamkhani also traveled to Abu Dhabi and Baghdad last month in visits that many said were aimed at boosting Iran's economic ties with its two Arab neighbors. And from Iran front page, Iran security chief international efforts to sideline dollar gaining momentum. Iran's security chief praises growing economic cooperation with Russia in the face of Western sanctions, saying international efforts to diminish the role of the U.S. dollar in financial transactions have gathered pace. In a meeting with the visiting Russian president's special envoy Igor Levitin, secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council expressed satisfaction with the improvement of the level and volume of economic cooperation between the two countries. He emphasized the need for the adoption of the shortcut solutions to accelerate the implementation of joint economic projects. Shamkhani said the finalized initiatives between the two countries related to monetary and banking relations are considered as an effective model for thwarting the illegal Western sanctions. The path started to reduce the influence of the dollar in regional and international economic exchanges, which many countries are joining, will reduce the dominance of the West over the world economy to the minimum possible level, he said. For his part, the Russian official stressed the need to implement joint plans and projects as soon as possible, especially in the field of transit, saying Moscow stands ready to invest in various economic sectors in Iran, including steel, oil, and petrochemicals. Besides the significant steps taken, the promotion of bilateral economic cooperation, proper grounds have been provided for concluding a multilateral economic agreement and attracting the participation of other countries in the region in profitable economic projects, he added. And from the cradle, the big stiff, Russia-Iran dump the dollar. News of Russian banks connecting to Iran's financial messaging system strengthens the resistance against U.S. imposed sanctions on both countries and accelerates global de-dollarization. and watch the space. Remember, your engagement through a like, a share, and a subscribe will engage us at warp speed towards the continuation of our mission to truthfully go where no news will have been going before.